Pratah smarami hridi samsfuradaatmatattvam Satchit sukham paramaham sagatim turiyam Yat swapna jagara sushuptim avaiti nityam Tad brahma nishkalamaham nacha bhuta sangaha Tapo bhikshina papanam Shantanam vitaraginam Mumukshunam apekshoyam Atmabodho vidhiyate Bodhonya sadhanebhyo hi Sakshan mokshaika sadhanam Pakasya vahni vajnanam Vina moksho na siddhyati. Hari Om. Welcome back to Gems of Bhagavad Gita. We'll continue where we left off yesterday. हम 3 गुणों पर चर्चा कर रहे थे कल, सत्व, रजस एंड तमस। एंड हमने काफी डिटेल में हमने चर्चा की थी। पिछले 2 दिन से हम गुणों पे चर्चा कर रहे हैं। एंड मैं वापस कहूंगा, उस एग्जाम्पल को याद रखिएगा। Remember this example of electricity and the bulb. Electricity is like the Purusha, the Atman is like electricity. The spirit is like electricity. Matter is the bulb. When spirit meets matter, when electricity meets the bulb, there is an expression of light. Similarly, when Purusha means Prakriti, meets Prakriti, there is an expression of light. When Purusha means Prakriti, there is an expression of life. You and I, we're all a combination of Purusha and Prakriti. The Purusha is Gunatita. The Purusha is beyond qualities. Purusha is one and all. It's the same. The Purusha is the same in one and all. The Purusha in you, the self in you is the same as the self in me, is the same as the self, all pervading. To discover, uncover, realize the supreme self within, the Purusha within, is your goal, is my goal. Right now, it is just intellectual knowledge that I'm sharing with you. But to realize it is altogether a different experience. Prakriti, on the other hand, is what makes you and I different. What distinguishes, what makes you distinct and separate from me. What causes differentiation among different beings is the Prakriti. And Prakriti is made up of gunas. And the gunas are broadly classified into sattva, rajas, tamas. And yesterday we discussed exhaustively, pretty comprehensively, what sattva represents, what rajas represents, and what tamas represents. It's not just on the outer, even in the level of thoughts. In fact, gunas truly belong to thoughts. Gunas are classified as the different types of thoughts, the different types of thought textures. The state of thoughts in inertia, laziness, heedlessness, arrogance is tamas. The state of thoughts in frenzy, in excitement, in lust is rajas. And the state of thoughts in equanimity, maturity, contemplation, regulation, moderation is sattva. And we had started covering this verse number 5 from chapter 14. We hadn't quite completed it. We had started covering it from chapter 14, where he makes the first assessment that these gunas, they belong to Prakriti, not to Purusha. First of all, these gunas belong to Prakriti, and they are what bind Purusha to Prakriti, as it were. You and me are a combination of spirit and matter, but what binds the spirit and matter together? What keeps the Purusha attached to the Prakriti? What keeps the spirits, as it were, attached to the Prakriti? What keeps you attached to your Prakriti is your gunas. So the gunas bind the Purusha to the Prakriti. Now, this is worth thinking about. This is worth thinking about because this is a philosophical thought. How can the spirit be bound? How can the indestructible embodied, how can the spirit, the self, the Atman, be bound to a body? The Atman is like the infinite ocean, the all-pervading, indestructible, unchanging ocean. The body is like a bucket. Huh? Your body is like a bucket. My body is like a bucket. How can the ocean be bound to the bucket? How much water can fit in a bucket of water? In a bucket? Suppose you go to the ocean with a bucket and you're saying, I'm going to get the entire ocean into this bucket. Is it possible? The ocean cannot be bound. The ocean cannot be bound. The ocean is infinite. The bucket is a small, finite container. So this body of yours, composed of these gunas, is a small vessel. It cannot bind the indestructible, as it were. And yet he says out here, the indestructible embodied is bound to Prakriti. The spirit in you, the Purusha in you, your real self, is bound to your Prakriti by these gunas. And how is it bound? In truth, it is not bound. And that's what you have to realize. It is your ignorance. It is your ignorance that binds you. In truth, you are not bound. In truth, you are not limited. In truth, you are not restricted. You're not a limited personality. In truth, you are not these gunas. That's what you have to realize. In truth, you are the all-pervading infinite self, the Purusha. You are not bound. You are boundless. You are free. The freedom you are looking for, the infiniteness you are looking for, you already are that. You and I, our pursuit in the world, what are we searching for? We are searching for fulfillment. We are searching for fulfillment. What we don't realize is that we are already full. What we don't realize is that we are already full. You are Amritasya Putra. You are that Paripurna Atman, playing the fool with your gunas. And in your ignorance, you have bound yourself. In your ignorance, believing yourself to be this Prakriti, bound by its qualities, Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas, you have acquired this finite individuality. You are not that. That's what you have to realize. Because the infinite cannot be bound by the finite. The ocean cannot be bound in a bucket. The Atman cannot be bound in your body. It's worth thinking about. It's worth thinking about. But because of your ignorance, because of my ignorance, because of our ignorance, we are bound to this body, as it were. We are completely determined by our gunas. Everybody, because of ignorance, spiritual ignorance, is helplessly manifesting their gunas. You are helplessly manifesting your gunas. I am helplessly manifesting my gunas. Nobody, people have very little agency to act apart from their gunas. Guna guneshu vartante iti matvana sajjate. Elsewhere he says, Nigraha kim karishyasi. What can restraint do? How can a person control themselves? Very, very tough for a person to control themselves and act apart from their gunas. You have to look at a person with ultimate sympathy. You have to look at a person with that objectivity, that person, whoever they are, whatever they are doing, they are simply a victim of their own nature. They're simply helplessly expressing their own gunas. That's how we are bound. attached to agunas. Only a spiritually evolved person. As you grow spiritually, you slowly become free from your gunas. That's the idea. That's the idea. As you grow from tamas to rajas to sattva, the quality, the nature of that ignorance, the nature of that mind reduces. And this is what we will take up in the following verses. The kind of action in sattva, the kind of attachment in sattva, the kind of attachment in rajas, and the kind of attachment in tamas. It's something to contemplate upon. As you evolve, that attachment reduces. Sattvic attachment is like no attachment at all. Sattvic attachment is like no attachment at all. Rajasic attachment is deeper, more complicated. Tamasic attachment is almost impossible to get out of. You can't bring a person out of tamas. You can help a rajasic person, you can't help a tamasic person. It's impossible. You can help a rajasic person, but you can't help a tamasic person, because a tamasic person doesn't want to help themselves. A tamasic person is content in their ignorance, in their arrogance. A rajasic person is confused. He has that desire to learn. He has that desire, that excitement. A tamasic person is completely entangled and completely lost. You can't even help them. So yesterday I was giving that example. Tamasic ignorance is like a womb which blocks the fetus, as it were. You can't see the fetus covered by the womb. You have to wait a period of time, and you have to go through a struggle. You have to wait through a period of time and go through a struggle. Similarly, a person who is tamasic, they will have to face the knocks and shocks of life. They will have to be shaken up to wake up to the realities of life. And you cannot help them. You will just helplessly watch. A tamasic person has to suffer. You will have to helplessly watch. This is very important to understand, because there are near and dear ones around you. See, first of all, it's about yourself. You have to recognize tamas in yourself, which is very hard, but you have to do it. And even those around you, that there are near and dear ones around you, there will be tamas in them, and you will not be able to help them. They will have to slip and fall. They will have to learn from their own mistakes, if at all they do learn from their own mistakes. That's the limitation. So the attachment in sattva, the attachment in rajas, and the attachment in tamas, that's the next 3 verses we will quickly take up. Sattvic attachment. Tatra sattvam nirmalatvat prakashakamanāmayam sukha sanghena badnati jnana sanghena chanagha. Tatra sattvam nirmalatvat prakashakamanāmayam sukha sanghena badnati jnana sanghena chanagha. हे अनघ, उनमें प्रकाश करने वाले रोग रहित सत्व गुण निर्मल होने से सुख के संग और ज्ञान के संग से बांधता है. सत्व कैसे बांधता है? Of these, sattva being stainless, nirmala, and luminous and healthy. Sattva being stainless, is luminous and healthy. It binds through attachment to happiness and attachment to knowledge. O Anagha. In sattva also there is attachment. In sattva also there is attachment. Attachment to what? There's attachment to knowledge. There's attachment to happiness. You may argue, what is the problem with this? Frankly, if you're tamasic or rajasic, there's no problem with this. It's a good attachment. To the extent to which you're tamasic or rajasic, it's a good attachment. Remember, how do you grow detached? How do you grow in life? What is detachment? Detachment is nothing but attaching to the higher. So you attach to sattva, you get detached from tamas and rajas. So in that sense, sattvic attachment is a good thing. But this is something you must keep at the back of your mind, that even in sattva, there is attachment. There is a chance of getting stuck, even in sattva. Your goal is to go beyond the gunas. I don't know if you have read The Prophet by Khalil Gibran. The Prophet by Khalil Gibran. It's a very, very beautiful book written by the great poet philosopher Khalil Gibran. And in the Prophet, he's talking about a prophet. He's talking about a spiritually enlightened person. And the piece, the literature begins with the ship coming. The prophet is sitting by that city is by the ocean, and the ship is coming to take the prophet away. The prophet has lived in the city for years and years. His knowledge and wisdom has been a solace, has been a source of joy and a source of support for all the people in the village, in the town. And they all love him so much. He is the source of their clarity. He's the source of their joy. He's a pleasure to be around. And the ship is coming to take him away. Means it is time for him to go. It is time for him to ultimately, that death is inevitable. That journey, that ultimate journey is inevitable. And in the beginning, what happens in the prophet eventually is, because people realize he's going, because people realize there is the ship has come to take him away, and they get very eager. They gather around him and they urge him to give them the final piece of knowledge, whatever he has to give before he's leaving. So each one or the other, some or the other villager asks him about some topic or the other. Someone says, speak to us of children. Someone says, speak to us of giving. Speak to us of law. Speak to us of this, speak to us of that. Different aspects of the world, different philosophical subjects they ask him to speak about. And that's the entire book. The entire book, The Prophet, is individual topics taken up. And it's beautiful. It's a beautiful study. But what I'm telling you about is talking about sattvic attachment. There's a point, there's a moment where Khalil Gibran is expressing that attachment, sattvic attachment. He sees the ship coming, and even in the prophet, there is a feeling of poignancy. There's a feeling of a little bit of a difficulty. थोड़ा दुख हो रहा है उनको कि समय आ गया है. The time has come to leave. Why? Because he is attached. There is that little grain of attachment, of happiness. He is the source of happiness of all the people. There is so much joy around him. There's so much knowledge and clarity he has that he is sharing with them. So there is that grain, there is that mind, even in sattva. It's almost the purest forms of attachment, but it is still attachment. It is still attachment. So here he's saying, even in sattva, there is attachment. Sattva being stainless, nirmala, free from impurities, free from shortcomings, free from negativities. Sattva is that guna, free from all negativities, free from all stain. And stain, mala, negativity is not only at the physical level, more importantly at the mental level. In sattva, there is freedom from all sorts of negative thought. It's stainless. There's no selfishness. There's no pessimism. There's no sarcasm. You think about the well-being of one and all. You have no axe to grind. There's no jealousy. There's no ego. The extent to which you're sattvic, you are free from all these stains, these malas. Sattva, being stainless, is luminous and healthy. Luminous means the light represents knowledge. Sattva is the source of knowledge. The extent to which you're sattvic, to that extent you will be knowledgeable and want to gain more knowledge. You'll be open to gaining more knowledge. So in that sense, it is luminous, it is self-effulgent, and it is healthy. Rog Rahit. Sattva is healthy. All the ill health, all the disease we suffer from, all the disease we struggle with, mental or physical, arises from tamas and rajas. Tamas and rajas bring disease. All the disease we suffer from has its roots in tamas or rajas. And the extent to which you are rajasic or the extent to which you are tamasic, you will be diseased. If not a physical disease, you'll be mentally diseased. You'll be struggling with grave attachment. You'll be struggling with ego and arrogance. You'll be delusional. You'll not have any idea of how to handle yourself mentally. The extent to which you are rajasic or tamasic. When you are sattvic, you are mentally healthy. You're clear. You're clear. You're free from delusion. So sattva is healthy and luminous. And we've already discussed, it binds through attachment to knowledge and to happiness. Oh Anagha, even in sattva, there is attachment. In rajas and tamas, the next two topics, the next two verses describe rajasic attachment and tamasic attachment. Verse number 7. Rajo ragatmakam vidhi trishna sanga samudbhavam tanni badnati kaunteya karma sangena dehinam. Rajo ragatmakam vidhi trishna sanga samudbhavam tanni badnati kaunteya karma sangena dehinam. हे कौंतेय, राग रूपी रजोगुण को कामना और लगाव का कारण जान। वह देहधारियों को कर्मों की आसक्ति से बांधता है. Know rajas to be of the nature of passion, the source of thirst and attachment. It binds fast, not bands, it binds fast, O Kaunteya, the embodied, by attachment to action. It binds the embodied, first of all, very fast. By what? By attachment to action. So, first of all, know rajas to be the nature of passion. We've already discussed this yesterday. It's the nature of passion. It's the very source of your thirst. What is rajas? In short, rajas is the feeling. If I get that, I will be happy. That feeling which puts you into a rat race in the world to acquire and enjoy whatever the world has to offer you. Almost like a chicken without a head. Running around for fulfillment in the world like a chicken without a head, with a thirst that is unquenchable, a never-ending thirst. Why never-ending? Because there's no end to the fulfillment you seek through rajas. There's no end to acquisition. In Vedanta, we don't say don't acquire. We say question. Question. Has what you have acquired fulfilled you? What is the end? Where will you stop? Ask that question. Don't stop acquiring. Please, by all means, keep acquiring. But ask that question to yourself. Ask that question to yourself. That's what makes you philosophical. In rajas, you don't ask those questions. You simply blindly run like a chicken without a head. With that thought, if I get that, I will be happy. At every point of life, even when you're a child, even when you're a student, even when you're a student, without thinking, you're simply developing the desire for X, Y, or Z. Student has the strong desire to study in a particular college. If I get that, if I get admission in that college, I will be happy. My life will be set. Ask the people who got into that college. Are they happy? Have they found what they're looking for? See, the problem is not with the desire. The problem is with that idea. If I get it, I will be happy. If I don't get it, I will be completely unhappy. My life will end. There was a very problematic advertisement. I think one of these IIT companies, IIT training institutes, they posted in the first page of Times of India a few days ago to all students of class 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And they were like almost instigating the students. If you don't work hard right now and you don't get into IIT, you lose these opportunities. Making you feel like if you get into IIT, you'll be happy. If you don't get into IIT, your life will be ended, finished. Now that's the problem with Rajas. You get into this kind of thinking, this dichotomy, which is why you become completely dependent. If you get what you want, you are temporarily elated, absolutely excited. And if you don't get it, you get into depression, you get into dejection. And it's serious. This depression or dejection is serious. It's not casual. People end up they go into serious conditions. People get into serious conditions. They take severe steps in their dejection. And what is the source of the dejection? What is the source of that feeling? It's in Rajas. It's in this idea. If I get that, I will be happy. If I acquire this, my life will be set. And if I don't get it, the more problematic thing is, if I don't get it, I'll be unhappy. That's what is problematic, if you ask me. Because you don't get everything that you want. That's life. You don't get everything that you want. How you deal with what you don't get makes you philosophical. How you deal with what you don't get makes you philosophical. So long as you're getting what you want, you don't need philosophy. So long as the world is fulfilling your desires, you don't need philosophy. 9 out of 10 people come to philosophy, come to this subject when they don't get what they want. But even after they come here, they're so rajasic in their thinking, it's very difficult to pull them out. Nonetheless, in Rajas, it is a source of thirst, and this thirst is unquenchable, and it is the source of attachment. Not only do you have an unquenchable thirst, you become extremely attached. You become dependent on your acquisition. You become completely bound to it. You develop the feeling of mindness, possessiveness, and that is what causes problems. There is no problem in your possession. There is no problem in your acquisition. Please, I keep saying this because this is the biggest misconception. There is no problem in possession. You can have a big house, the best of cars, go on the best of holidays, have the best of businesses, do the best of things in life, enjoy. No problem. The problem is your attachment to it. The problem is your dependence on it. Your inability to do without it. There's no problem in traveling first class, so long as you're still comfortable traveling economy class. Please remember this. There's no problem in traveling first class. You should get the best of things, and you should aspire for the best of things. But the problem is, whatever we acquire, we grow attached to. We become possessive about our possessions. The very thought of separation from it creates unsaid misery, unimaginable misery. Separation not only just even from your wealth, physical, material wealth. Forget physical or emotional separation. That is unimaginable. You're attached to your body. If I separate you from your body, if I take away even one aspect, the misery is incredible. Even material separation causes such misery because of attachment. And where did that attachment come from? It is the source. The source of attachment is Rajas. It binds fast. Before you know it, you're attached, my friend. Before you know it, you're already entangled. Hmm? It binds fast. You won't have the time to even think. You've already fallen in love. Huh? Those of you who are slightly younger, who perhaps will be listening to this, or if you can think back to X number of years ago, the example we usually give for to explain the idea of attachment in a way that is relatable to to all of us. You give the idea of, when a boy falls in love with a girl, when a young person falls in love with a partner, how does that happen? Initially, there's nothing. Initially, you don't even know the person. You may not have ever met the person. You may have never heard of the person. But what happens? Old school example. Nowadays, there are many ways to meet people because we are going out and meeting people. Back in the day, you met very few people. You were limited to people in your society, in your colony. So back in the day, how did people fall in love? I don't know. This is what I've heard from my gurus. Iti Shushruma Purvesham. This is what my gurus have said. The example the gurus have given. A boy goes into his balcony and he's just sipping some tea. And then suddenly in the building across, a new family has moved in, and a girl in that house, she also comes to the balcony, and it catches his attention. He's just looking around, and suddenly it catches his attention, and he becomes curious. He becomes curious. Nothing has happened yet. He's just interested. Are new person? That's the thought that goes into his mind. He's never seen them before. He's never heard of them before. There's no any attachment, no nothing. He just has that thought of curiosity. Nothing happens. Couple of days later, again, he's in the balcony, or maybe he's walking downstairs, and he sees that person going again, maybe passing by. And his curiosity is rekindled. Oh, that person again, look. I wonder which building they stay in, which floor they are in. The curiosity becomes a little more. The curiosity becomes a little more. And the third time he sees them, there's a little bit of joy. It's like, oh, I should actually find out. I should actually find out who they are. And now he starts thinking, even when they are not there, he starts thinking, oh, will I see them I wonder when I see them next. I wonder when I'll see this person next. And now he goes to the balcony with the hope, with the expectation, the small grain of desire. Oh, I wish they also come. I wish I'm able to catch a glance of them. Notice the difference. The first time he went to the balcony, he had no thought, no expectation. The third or fourth time he goes to the balcony, he has a small feeling, a desire. I wish they're there. And if they are there, suddenly there are butterflies in his stomach. If they are not there, he gets dejected. And then he starts talking about his newfound curiosity with his friends, and his friends push him. Hey, you got to go meet her, man. You got to go meet her. And that feeling prompts him to go and meet. And once they meet, and now they start keeping in touch, and now they get into a relationship, whatever. Before he knows it, all day, all he's doing is talking to her, thinking about her, planning his activities according to her schedule, making time, making this, shifting things around. The friends start saying, "Arey, you've forgotten us." Very common thing to hear teenagers say. "Arey, he's found a new friend. He's forgotten us." And all of this happens without you realizing it. That's what I'm trying to convey. The point I'm trying to convey is Rajas binds fast. This is the point I'm trying to convey. Rajas binds fast. You won't even realize it. A person who you simply glanced at a couple of weeks ago has become the center of your life. And now if she leaves, the heartbreak will be unimaginable. Uh, the heartbreak will be unimaginable. That separation, because the kind of attachment that is already developed so quickly, separation from that, oh my God. Hmm? Don't pretend now that it doesn't matter. When you were in that position, it even caused a lot of heartburn to you. Hmm? It even caused a lot of heartburn to you. This is not only true for you see, we are giving a very simple example, a very harmless sounding example. This attachment is deadly. This attachment is deadly. It's the same attachment you carry through in every aspect of life. It's the same attachment you carry into your adulthood. It's the same attachment you carry into your family life, into your business. And this attachment causes untold misery. Rajas binds fast by attachment to action. You develop a sense of possessiveness, an uncontrolled desire to get what you want. An uncontrolled desire to get what you want. That's Rajas. And what is tamasic attachment? That's what we will discuss next. Tamasic attachment. Verse number 8. Tamastvajnanajam vidhi mohanam sarvadehinam pramadalasya nidhrabhihi tannibadnati bharata. Tamastvajnanajam vidhi mohanam sarvadehinam pramadalasya nidrabhihi tannibadnati bharata. परंतु हे भारत, सब देहधारियों में मोहने वाला तमोगुण अज्ञान से उत्पन्न हुआ जान, वह प्रमाद, आलस्य और निद्रा द्वारा बांधता है. No tamas to be born of ignorance, the deluder of all embodied. It binds fast through heedlessness, indolence, and sleep. Pramad, alasya or nidra, heedlessness, indolence, and sleep. O Bharata, just as sattva binds to knowledge and happiness, just as rajas binds to action and acquisition and enjoyment and that dependency and possessiveness, similarly tamas also binds you. The attachment of sattva is like a pure, I shouldn't say this, but it's like a pure attachment. The attachment of rajas is deeply entangling. The attachment in rajas is deadly. In rajasic attachment, you can still help the person. In tamasic attachment, you can't help a heedless person. You can't drive knowledge into them. They'll reject it. You can't explain to an arrogant person. You can't wake up a sleeping person. It's very difficult. And if you shake them up, they'll get annoyed. Arey, let me sleep more. You can't wake up a sleeping person. No tamas to be born of ignorance. Tamas is born out of ignorance. The extent to which you are ignorant, the extent to which you lack knowledge, to that extent you will remain in tamas. You will remain in that. And what is tamas? Tamas manifests as arrogance. The extent to which you lack knowledge, to that extent you will believe, I know it all. I know exactly what is supposed to happen. I know exactly what I'm supposed to do. I know exactly what is right. I know exactly what is wrong. I know that feeling. And the irony is that it is born out of ignorance. The extent to which you are ignorant, to that extent you will be arrogant. Remember the qualities of a jnani we covered in the last chapter. The first quality of a jnani is humility, amanitvam. That feeling, maybe I don't know, I need to learn. And the opposite of that is tamas, born out of ignorance. It is a deluder of all embodied. It is complete darkness. The extent to which you are tamasic, to that extent there is darkness in your personality. It again also binds fast. Like Rajas also, it binds fast. And in fact, it binds even deeper. Through heedlessness. You don't care. You have a heedless attitude in life. You're not concerned about the consequences of your actions, about the consequences of your choices, about the needs and expectations and wants of others. You're not concerned about the well-being of others. Forget the well-being of you're not even concerned about your own well-being. You're not even concerned about your own well-being. Only when someone is concerned about their own well-being will they look to make improvements. You feel you're already perfect. So you're not concerned. Heedless. You end up doing things which will cause harm not only to you but to others as well. You'll end up regretting it. Hopefully you will end up regretting, because when you regret, there is a chance to grow. Many people don't even regret what they have done, things they do. That is tamas, heedlessness. And it can be infuriating to a third person. Looking at a tamasic person can cause so much anger to you because they are so heedless. They don't care about the harm they are causing. Your own child could be the most tamasic person. It's very important to identify that. Heedlessness, deadly quality. Indolence, alasya. A sense of not wanting to change, even mentally, not wanting to bring about any change, not wanting to make amends, not wanting to learn. And sleep, nidra. Unaware. Sleep means you're unaware. They're all related. One feeds the other. Heedlessness arises out of sleep. Sleep is fed by heedlessness. So they're all related. It's different ways of explaining. We use these different terms to expand, to try to give a more comprehensive idea. And when a person is heedless, when a person is unaware, they only learn at best through experience. They have to face the knocks and shocks of life. They have to go through the suffering. It's sad but true. It's sad but true. The extent to which a person is tamasic, even God can't help them. Even God can't help them. What can you and I do? So sattvic attachment, rajasic attachment, tamasic attachment. Three different kinds of attachments. They are all attachments. Now the idea is you have to grow from tamas to rajas to sattva. That's your spiritual evolution. That's the path. You can't grow directly from tamas to sattva. It's not possible. It's too big a jump. Wherever there is tamas in you, inject rajas, inject passion. And wherever there is passion and uncontrolled desire, feed knowledge. That's the process of growth, from tamas to rajas to sattva, eventually to trans sattva. And we'll talk about that. So we'll meet again tomorrow. I know that our class is supposed to end today, but because we missed a couple of classes, I'm happy and willing to meet tomorrow morning from 7 a.m. So we'll end this season tomorrow morning after class. So we'll see you again tomorrow at the same time at 7 a.m. With that thought, we'll conclude today's class. Hari Om Tat Sat. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. We'll see you tomorrow. Hari Om.